yoga videos. So Kate Bodie here, Michelle here. We're going to start with a warm-up, a 20-minute warm-up, and maybe you just want to do the warm-up, and then the next segment will be working with the core, the powerhouse, turning that on. And then our third video is going to be a hip-shoulder focus. So feel free to do all three. They kind of work in sequence, or they're going to be about 20 minutes each. You can just do one at a time. Let's see, also we want to listen to our bodies all the time, right? We don't want this to be uncomfortable, so take a break anytime you need to, modify as you need to, and have fun. So, with that said, we will start in a chest opener, so you'll grab a blanket or a towel. We also will probably be using a strap and a block, but find whatever you have around the house. Roll your towel or your blanket up so it's about the width of the spine. Stick it in the middle of your mat. And then you're going to sit right in front of your blanket, right, so that your sacrum still stays on the ground. And if that's too much of an arch for your back, you can always scoot your hips away from the blanket a little bit. And then you're just going to recline down so your spine aligns with that towel and blanket. You can straighten your feet out, or you can have your knees bent. You can roll the towel under your neck so that you have a little bit of curve there. And then focus on rolling your shoulders under your back, palms are out, rotate your thumb down to the floor. Take a deep breath into your belly, pause at the top of the inhale, and then exhale and slowly let your breath out through your nose. And as you exhale, you're just letting your shoulders melt down to the mat. You're finding space between your molars. Relaxing the jaw, letting your eyes sink to the back of your head. And again, inhaling into the belly. Try to expand just the belly, not the chest or the ribs. And as you exhale, slowly just let your feet flop off to the sides. And find your mind in this peaceful moment. Slowly wiggle your toes and move your fingers. And one leg at a time, we'll walk our feet up onto the mat. Spread your feet apart gently, and then just rock them side to side. Try to keep your spine completely grounded on your blanket, and just isolate the hip movement. And you don't need to rock all the way down to the floor, you're just gaining a little bit of movement in your hip joint. Keeping the spine stable and focusing on your breath. Every exhale, just let the shoulders relax a little bit farther. Let your chest sink down into the blanket. And then gently give yourself a hug with your arms crossing your elbows over your chest, and then just let your entire body slowly rock with your knees. Not too far where we lose in our stability, just enough that you're massaging either side of your spine. And then we'll rock all the way over onto our right hand side. You can use your arm as a pillow and just remove the blanket from under your back. And then gently let yourself roll back onto the mat. Take a deep breath here, rolling your shoulders under your back, and feel your sacrum grounding into the mat. Your feet are grounded into the floor. We'll inhale, we'll draw the arms and the hips up simultaneously into a bridge pose. And then exhale, one vertebrae at a time, slowly come down. Feel free to have a block in between the knees if that helps keep your knees hip distance apart. And also if you want to engage a little bit more of the inner leg muscles. Continue with your breath, inhaling up. Pause at the top of the inhale. Exhale, slowly come down. We'll do this one one more time. Nice deep breath in. Inflating the belly as you come up. Pause. Feel your toes nice and relaxed. Move your head around, making sure your neck is nice and relaxed here. And then as you exhale, one vertebrae at a time, we slowly come down. We should have had some music. It's okay, Maxwell. And then bring the soles of your feet together, coming into coffer's pose.
What did you Maxwell?
Oh, we didn't think about Maxwell in the equation. He'll chill out in a second. Take a couple of breaths here. Our amateur yoga video.
Photobomb.
You take a couple breaths. I'm gonna do the dog.
She's back.
Okay, let's see. Oh yes, good. We will come back. All right, so inhale and draw your knees back to center. And then we will take a block, and then we'll lift the hips up, we'll slide the block underneath your sacrum. So you just want to make sure that the block is really comfortable underneath your spine, under your sacrum, under your hips, right? And if the block is too much, then just take your folded blanket or your towel and you can elevate your hips there. And then from here, it's really easy to roll your shoulders under your back, right? Find a gap between the shoulder blades. Then we're just gonna draw our knees up to a 90-degree angle. Good. So your ankles are aligned with your knees. And then point your toes. Take a deep breath in, and as you inhale, slowly touch your big toe to the mat, just barely, and then pull it back up. And then just barely touch your big toe on the left side, and then slowly bring it up. So we don't want to speed through this at all. We want to move with our breath. Inhaling down and exhaling up. You can just go at your own pace, but you want to feel really stable in the shoulders. Your face is nice and relaxed. And at any time you feel yourself holding your breath, that's when you want to take a little break. So let's just do 2 more on each side. I'm waking up our hip flexors. We're waking up our core. We feel our thighs. Our hamstrings tend to be really tight, right? So then our thighs are a little bit weaker. So getting some good strengthening of the thigh muscles. Help support our posture. Was that 2 on each side?
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll slowly lower one foot down. Slowly lower the other foot down. Inhale, lift your hips up. And then ever so slowly lower your hips down, one vertebrae at a time. And hug our knees to the chest, and then just gently rock side to side, elbow to elbow. And then draw circles in the ceiling with the knees. And in the opposite direction. Okay, let's roll over onto our side. And then bring yourself up. We'll come around into child's pose.
Love it.
Yeah, and feel free to put that blanket under your knees if you need any kind of support for your knees. You can stack your fists up for your forehead to rest on, stack your hands for your forehead to rest on, or you can bring your hands back down by your feet and rest your forehead on the mat, whatever feels good to you. And then notice you'll want to breathe here. You want to expand your rib cage, right? Because your belly is kind of stuck where it is. You can't really expand your belly too much. So focus on expanding your back and your ribs with your breath. And then on an inhale, bring yourself forward to hands and knees. Good. If you need any wrist support, you can always trifold your mat here for a little extra wrist support. And you can also have the blanket underneath your knees if you need to. You want your middle fingers pointing forward, and then notice your elbows. So a lot of times we're internally rotated with our shoulders. Try to externally rotate your shoulders by pointing the inside of your elbow out. Good. Then just breathe in a gentle cat-cow. Exhaling, letting the head be heavy, tucking the tailbone. Inhale, press the sit bones back, and squeeze the shoulders together. Max wants to do yoga. Exhaling out. And inhaling. Really focusing on the shoulder movements. So you should feel your scapulas, your shoulder blades, gliding over your rib cage. And if you can't feel it, you can just envision it. And then we'll come back to neutral spine. From here, press your hands into the mat and then walk your feet back to a plank pose. So your body shouldn't really move at all, right? Your torso, you're just walking your feet straight back because you're already aligned. You're pressing your hands into the floor. Take a deep breath here. You can always drop your knees down if you need to modify. And then, since you've dropped your knees down, let's move right back to downward dog. Because that's how we do yoga, right? So fun. And then inhale forward, drop the knees, and then exhale child's pose. But just an extended child's pose, not all the way relaxed. Keep your hands where they are. Because then we'll inhale and we'll come to plank pose. You can keep your knees down, lift up, and then exhale downward dog. And then inhale forward plank pose. Come all the way forward, then drop your knees and exhale child's pose. So hold child's pose as long as you would like to, but we're just going to continue this little mini flow. Exhaling down dog, inhaling plank pose, exhaling child's pose at your own pace with your own breath cycles. You can hold any of these poses at any time. So plank pose if you want a little bit more strengthening. Child's pose if you want a little bit more restoration. And downward dog if you need a little bit more of a stretch. Just a couple more here. I'm going to try to keep this within 20 minutes. All right, and then we'll all meet in downward dog. So if you're already there, hang out. If you're not there, take your time. And just walk the dog here, right? Alternating heel to mat. You can really focus on moving those hips. Noticing if one side feels any different than the other. Stay connected with your breath. And then inhale, bring yourself forward, drop your knees down, and then drop just your chest down, keeping your elbows hugged into your torso. You can lower all the way down and bring yourself into a modified up dog. So really focus on squeezing the shoulders into the torso. Then press the tops of your feet into the mat. Breathe, and as you inhale, you should feel yourself lifting. Lift with your belly and your diaphragm. Exhale, you'll sink down just a bit. One more time, inhale, lift. If you want, you can draw your hands straight back, strengthening the back a little bit more. Otherwise, stay focused on squeezing the shoulders and the elbows. Good. And then exhale, tuck yourself back to child's pose. And we'll take a couple of restorative breaths here. All right, from child's pose, we'll bring ourselves up to a standing position. So you can stand at the top of your mat. Look down at your feet and make sure the outside edges of your feet are parallel. So your toes are pointing straight forward. Relax the shoulders down away from the ears. Reach from the crown of the head. You can play with your hips just a bit. You don't want to be pushing the hips out, but you don't want to be tucking them in. Just find that nice relaxed position, but you can feel a little bit of your core. Can you feel a little bit of your core?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, good. Our powerhouse. Okay, so we'll do 3 forward folds. But as you exhale, really bend the knees down so you feel your hands planting in the mat. And then as you inhale, try to go as slow as possible. 1 vertebrae at a time, focusing on keeping the chin tucked into the chest. Because we tend to want to draw the head up first to see where we're going, but you wanna really keep that down. All right, inhale, arms over the head. Exhale, swan dive down. So bend the knees until your hands ground into the mat, or you can grab some blocks if you want some blocks. And then drop the chin to the chest and press through the feet. Feeling a nice stretch. Try to get the inside of your elbows to point forward. Can you feel your shoulder blades here? And then shake your head yes. Shake the head no. And shake the head yes again. And then slowly, one vertebrae at a time. Your arms are heavy, your head is heavy. You press yourself up. And once you feel your shoulders come back, then you can draw your head up. And from there, just bring your arms back over the head. Inhale. Exhale, swan dive down. Oh, doesn't that feel so good? That slow roll up. There's no hurry, no rush. Just move your head around here a little bit, making sure you're nice and relaxed. Pressing through the feet. And when you're ready, slowly roll yourself up. So you just feel your feet and your legs powering you up. And it's like your shoulders are really passive here, and your head's really passive. It's just your legs giving you this force. And then we'll inhale. Again, coming up. Exhale, swan dive down. Notice if you can find any more space in your hamstrings the third time. Shaking the head yes. Shaking the head no. And shaking the head yes again. And then again, rolling yourself up. Doesn't seem like you're doing much, but wow, you're doing so much. And then from here, just roll your shoulders down away from the ears. Reach from the crown of the head. Readjust your hair and your shirt and your
The whatnots.
everything. Find yourself back in center. All right, good. So let's see. We'll do a warrior one, warrior two, kind of mini flow. Inhale, arms over the head, and draw your right leg up. Then you're just gonna exhale right back to warrior one, making sure your knee is over your pinky toe and that your torso is up. You can feel free to put your hands on your hips if you need to.
I think so.
Yeah, and then you want to just glance at your back foot, make sure it is at a diagonal and that it's not too far back. If you need to step it out to the side a little bit, that'll help get your hips to come forward. You want your hips to be squared forward and not tucked back, so making sure our alignment is proper here. Yeah, and then we can have our arms up, we can have our arms in cactus if we want a little bit more of a chest opener. Whatever feels good to you here. Breathe. Keep your chin parallel with your chest. Good, and then we're gonna drop our right hand back, coming into warrior two, looking out across that left middle finger. And if you need to widen your stance a bit, you can widen your stance a bit. You should feel a nice stretch in the inner thigh of that left leg. Maybe a little bit in the right calf. And then bring yourself back to a warrior one. So really feel like your hips moving from side to side, right? Forward, they're squared forward in warrior one. And then square them back in warrior two. And then we'll come back to warrior one, but straighten your front leg. Take your hands to your hip. Two hips, just one. And then come forward to pyramid pose. So you're keeping your spine straight and you're just coming down until you feel a stretch. And then you're gonna reach from the crown of the head. And you're gonna focus on keeping that right hip down, rotated down. Because as we start feeling the stretch in the left leg, we wanna start compensating by drawing the hip backward. You wanna keep that down. So just go where you feel a stretch. And then to make this more fun, we're gonna turn our right toes forward and just drop ourselves into a lunge. Whoa! There's blocks. If you want some blocks, you can always have blocks. And then take your hands to the mat. Drop your left foot back, and you're magically in a plank pose. Exhale your down dog. And then inhale, bring yourself forward and tuck yourself into child's pose. And just notice if you feel a difference on one side of your body versus the other. And also, depending on how that feels, grab some blocks or something if you need to modify for the other side. So nice restorative breaths here. See if you can slow your heart rate with your breath. Inhaling and then holding your breath at the top of the inhale. And then ever so slowly exhaling. All right, and then we'll bring ourselves up, back to a standing position. And then we're going to try to remember what we did before so we can do it on this side. All right, let's just start with a forward fold to kind of reacquaint ourselves. Inhale, draw your arms up, and then exhale, swan dive down. This one, nice forward fold, dropping the chin down to the chest, shaking the head yes, shaking the head no, shaking the head yes again. Inhale, slowly round yourself up, head being the last to rise, shoulders come back. Good. Inhale, draw the left leg up, and then walk it straight back to a warrior one. Or you can just walk yourself back to a warrior one. It's fun. It's fun to try to balance, isn't it? The body is different every day as well. I notice if I have a lot on my mind, I can't balance at all. Yeah. And then here, I feel a huge stretch in my left calf. I didn't feel a huge stretch in my right one. So it's really interesting. And then really making sure that your hips are squared straight forward, your belly button is squared straight forward. And if your shoulders meet, you can just come here, or you can just bring your hands to your hips. So whatever feels good to you at the moment. One side might feel much different than the other. So maybe this side's a little bit more strenuous, right? And it's just better to get more out of the pose, to keep your hands on your hips versus drawing your hands up. Or maybe that really makes you arch your back. We don't want to arch the back, right? So then cartwheel yourself back to warrior two. You might want to widen your stance a little bit, or maybe not. So now we've just rotated the hips back, right? So that our hips are now squared with the side of the mat, but our knee is still over our pinky toe. Our shoulders are relaxed. We're reaching from the crown of the head. And then cartwheel yourself back to warrior one. Just feel the difference in the direction of the hips and where you feel your stretch. And back to warrior two. It's just so crazy how one side can be so different. We'll relax the shoulders down away from the ears. Yes.
Sorry.
I know. It's been a while for me to like teach, even to do yoga. It's fun, isn't it? All right, back to warrior one. I say it's fun now until we're sore tomorrow.
I feel great tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to shorten my stance a little bit because now we're going to straighten the leg, bring our hands to our hips, and come down into pyramid pose. And whoa, it doesn't take very much folding for me to feel that in my right leg. You can also come down to blocks anytime you need to. You just have to be careful because that'll make you want to round the back. And if you can keep your back straight, that's the way to go. There's another one if you need. Okay, yeah. All right. And then what did we do from pyramid pose? We pivoted the left foot forward, and then we just came down into a lunge. And again, your lunge can be on blocks, or it can be up. You can also bring that left knee down onto a blanket if you want. Or you can also draw your arms up if you want. It's pretty good for a little warm-up routine, huh?
I'm sweating.
We can open some windows if we need. Oh, we'll turn the heat down. Okay, coming straight down into a plank pose.
Oh, easier said than done, my
You
dear.
can do it on your blocks too if you need to. I know sometimes we have to manually move our limbs around. Exhale, down dog. It's a good time to like check your alignment here, right? Hands on your feet. Inhale, float forward to plank. Drop the knees, and let's come into a restorative child's pose. Just taking a few breaths here. Good. I can't read my own handwriting. I should wear my glasses. All right, slowly bring yourself up to hands and knees. I think I can see what it says. We'll take our blankets and just have it up for your head to rest on, because we're going to come into a restorative pose. Thread the needle, a twist, and a bit of a shoulder stretch. So you just want to make sure that your feet don't come together. So if you need a block between your feet, you can grab a block between your feet. It's just something to be aware of, because then it changes the directions of our hips, right? So you're going to take your right arm, you're going to exhale, reach it under, and then inhale and draw it up to the ceiling. Exhale, reach it under. Noticing how your hips are not moving and your knees are not moving. Inhale, draw yourself up. Yeah.
Maybe they were.
But now we're aware of it, so we're not going to let it happen again. Exhale, one more time, reach under. Inhale, one more time, reach up, and really press through that left arm. And then exhale, draw that arm under as far as you can, lower down onto your shoulder, and then your head lowers down onto the blanket or onto the towel. And then bring your left hand up over your head.
Overhead. That way, okay, double checking.
Yeah, and then we're going to breathe here. And you should be nice and relaxed. Just close your eyes, focus on your breath. So we're going to get out of this pose carefully. You're going to take your left hand and you're going to lift it off your shoulder, because you don't want to jar your shoulder by pulling it when there's pressure on it. So once you've lifted yourself up, you can pull your right arm out, right? But you don't want to try to yank that arm out when there's weight bearing on it. It doesn't feel good. Good. Realign yourself. Exhale, left hand under. And then inhale all the way up. Press through your right hand. Exhale under. Inhale up. Exhaling under. Don't let your knees or your feet move. Inhaling up. And then we exhale all the way down in to thread the needle, reaching that hand as far across the mat as we can. Your head can come to the towel or the mat, and then your right arm comes out over your head. And then just notice where you feel the stretch here. Nice relaxed breath. And then we inhale, we draw the hand to center, lift yourself off your shoulder, back to hands and knees. Good. All right, so let's finish with some nice leg stretches, leg stretch 1, 2, and 3. We'll turn ourselves around, recline ourselves onto the mat. We'll have our straps available. Feel free to have something rolled underneath your neck if that feels good to you. Feeling good?
Yeah, it does.
Good.
It does.
Okay, so first you want to feel your shoulders on the mat, and you want to feel the back of your head on the mat and your sacrum. Do we all feel our sacrum and our hips grounded? So you want to keep your sacrum grounded during all of these stretches. So loop the strap around your right foot. Lower your leg down and release the heel. So again, you can feel your sacrum. And then once you feel your sacrum and your hips, so they don't move, you can draw that leg up until you feel a stretch. But keep the legs straight. When we get a bend in the knee, then we kind of pull it a little bit farther than our range of motion, and our hips hike up a little bit. So if you keep that leg straight, you can press your hips down and then slowly lower your left leg down if that feels good. Try to keep the toes pointing up. And then we breathe here. Shoulders are tucked down under the body and your elbows are tucked into the rib cage. Your face is nice and relaxed. Maybe after a few breaths you can find a little bit more space in your hamstrings. And then take the strap into your right hand. Keeping the hips grounded, you're going to lower your leg to the right hand side. And then we'll breathe here. And shaking is normal. Especially if you haven't done yoga in a while. Inhale, bring yourself to center. And then exhale across the body, keeping your hips grounded until you feel a nice outer leg stretch. And here it's okay to bend the knee a little bit if you need to. And we'll bring ourselves to center, hug the knee into the chest, and then we'll switch sides. So again, wiggle the hips just a bit so you can feel your sacrum grounded. We release the knee so that our leg is nice and straight. You feel your hamstring stretch, and then if you want, you can lower your right leg down. Then again, making sure the elbows are tucked into the torso, and that your face and your neck are nice and relaxed. We'll definitely play some music in our next video. Our first amateur yoga video. You hear dogs barking.
Toilets flushing.
Alright, slowly lower your leg to the left hand side, but keep your hips grounded. This is
real.
real life
It's
yoga.
real.
Home,
Right.
homegrown yoga.
Yeah, but it's Michelle video. Yay.
Oh, so funny. The Mario Kart theme song in the back.
We're all living it.
Any shakiness going on this side? Gosh, my right leg was shaking. I could feel it.
This one feels better. The other one was tight.
Yeah. Alright, we'll draw the leg to center, cross it over until we feel a little outer leg stretch, a little bit of a bend in the knee, and then we breathe here. You just have to be able to tune it out, right? I mean, if you're doing yoga at home, there's so much to tune out anyway, so why not just have it on the video? Slowly draw the leg to center, bend the knee, and then we can come into Shavasana,
Ooh, yes.
final resting pose. So take a deep breath, roll the shoulders under, just let the legs flop off to the side. Find that really comfortable position for yourself. Even if you have like 30 seconds of Shavasana, it's better than nothing. As you inhale, expand the belly, pause, and then as you exhale, just let everything sink down to the mat. Let the eyes sink into the back of the head sink into the mat. The jaw relaxes, the hands relax, and the feet flop off to the side. So just take 3 deep breaths here. So maybe you have an eye pillow you can put over your eyes or cover yourself up with a blanket. This is a good time to take a break in between videos, or you can just roll right into the next video, or you can call it quits here. But we'll pause and then we'll come back.